Welcome to day 4 of our free sewing class. In today's class, we'll learn how to read a tape and also how to sew straight line on a sewing machine. Now, this is a tape showing you what each mark stands for. From the beginning of the tape on that arrow to where the one inch is written, we have 8 lines. And it is numbered 1/8 for the first one, 1/4, 2/8, until you get to 7/8 and you get to 1 inch. So that is how each of these lines are numbered. I would not want you to bother so much about all the 8 lines, but you see these 4 that I marked out: 1/4, 1/2, 3/4, and the 1 inch. Those are the main one for now, because as beginner you have to work with them. The 1/4, we call it 1/4 of an inch, which is the same thing as 0.25. The 1/2 is called half an inch, is the same thing as 0.5. The 3/4 is called 3/4 of an inch, is the same thing as 0.75, and also the 1 inch. So when you are asked to measure 1.25 of an inch, you see this mark, that is where your measurement will end. If you are asked to measure 0.75, let me show you where your measurement will end. So basically, that is how to measure on your tape. And as we continue in our sewing class, you still get to use the measuring tape and you understand more of how to use it. That is the basics. Now let's go to how to sew on a straight stitch sewing machine, and how to make your sewing straight using the knowledge of this tape reading that we just learned. All right, let's go to our sewing machine. Okay, we'll still learn about the parts of a sewing machine, but for now, you see this plate, we call it a throat plate. And when you look at the plate very well, you see that it has some markings. Can you see where I'm pointing at? And the markings are written. This first line that I'm showing you is 1/4, which is 0.25. You can also call it 1/4. Now the next line is 1/2, which is half. That is half. The next one is 3/4, which is 3/4. And the next line is 1 inch. So now I will be placing a fabric on my sewing machine. I will sew straight stitch using this guide to make my stitches straight. Before I demonstrate, I want to show you on this butterfly machine that it is the throat plate. Also on this type of machine has its own markings. I don't know if you can see the lines. Don't mind this, my machine, it has seen good old days, so it's an old machine, so that is why it's not that new. But can you see the plates? Can you see the lines? So it's the same techniques that works for it. All right, let me go back to this machine and show you how to sew 1/4, that is 1/4. You see, you make sure that your fabric does not go beyond that line. So you use that line as a guide as you sew straight. This way you will learn how to sew a straight line on your sewing machine. So just watch what I'm doing. You move gently, you hold your fabric and you make it straight, and you just sew. Just make sure you don't go beyond the line. So after sewing this line, that will be my 1/4 allowance, seam allowance. That will be my 1/4 seam allowance. So the same thing, if I want to achieve ½ inch seam allowance, I will place my fabric, straight cut fabric. I will place it, I will make sure it is on the line of my 1/2 seam, and it will sew half an inch allowance for me. So I'm done with that. Let me show you. You see what I have? A straight line without stress. So this is actually a method for a beginner. Now I will sew ½ an inch also, and I will sew 3/4. I will sew 1 inch. I'll come back to show you. Just keep watching. I'll come back to show you what it looks like at the end. At this point, I'm done sewing. Does it look straight? Yes, it is actually very straight. Let me place my measuring tape on it so that you can see if we actually achieve what we plan to achieve. You see the measuring tape? Did you see it? The 1 inch, the 0.75, the ½ inch, the 0.25, and that is what it looks like. So if you want to achieve a straight stitch, you want your hand to be straight, this is an hack for you. Before we end the class, let me teach you how to sew and a corner, how to pivot. Let me just draw this line and show you how to go about it. So when you have a corner like this and you want to sew, the first thing is to sew straight as you will sew your normal straight stitch. When you get to the end of the line, you raise up your machine foot like this, your presser foot. Let me show you the lever. When you raise this lever up, it raises up the foot. It raises up the foot. Meanwhile, your needle is inside the fabric. You are not raising your needle up. It is only this foot you are raising up. So you raise it up like this and you pivot. You move your fabric. You move your fabric. You see the way I move it? You move it like this so that you can continue sewing. After moving, you put the lever down, put the foot down, and continue sewing. So that is how to sew a corner white sewing. Lastly, if you are to sew a curve, you just follow the curve. You see the way I'm following it using your seam allowance. That is how to sew a curve. I hope you have learned something in today's video. We've discussed about how to read a tape, how to sew a straight stitch corner, and how to sew a curve. I'll see you tomorrow, which will be the day 5 of our free sewing class. Thank you for watching. See you tomorrow.